Blog Talk Radio.
Rockers in Recovery Media is dedicated to carrying the message of addiction recovery through music, news, events, and festivals taking place within and not limited to the clean and sober community.
Hey, John Hollis with Rockers in Recovery. If you don't know what Rockers in Recovery is, we are a media company. It's Addiction Recovery Media. The information here is based on the love of music and evidence-based approaches to drug and alcohol addiction treatment. We are not a treatment program or an advocacy group. Our sole purpose is to provide prevention and education information to anyone who suffers with drug addiction and alcoholism. We do it through our media platforms using, of course, music, addiction education information, and our recovery partners. Tonight, we have the Shores on with us, the Shores Treatment and Recovery, and we have Lyle Freed. Lyle is, of course, going to be talking about alternative approaches to recovery tonight, and we look forward to having Lyle on the show. He's a wealth of information, and you can find the Shores by going to theshoresrecovery.com. That's theshoresrecovery.com. You can also call Lyle directly at 888-249-2590. So let's get Lyle on the phone and speak with him in regards to alternative approaches to recovery. Good afternoon, Lyle. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for having me.
You know, we've had the pleasure of doing a lot of shows over the last couple of years, and the alternative approaches to recovery, you're always gaining new knowledge and new understanding and introducing new approaches. Is that something that you feel the Shores is, looking to do over the long period of time, is always introduce something that's going to be on the cutting edge of technology?
Well, it depends on what's available. I mean, really what we do is we look at the science, we look at the research behind it, and we look at the effects and availability for our demographic. And if it's viable and helpful to our clients, then certainly if it's possible, we'd like to be able to take advantage of things that are helpful to our clients. And the fact is that the brain is sort of, really is the final frontier. Our understanding of the human mind and brain as an organ is ever growing. And so the more we learn, the better, particularly as we're learning more and more about some of the things that we've done before and why they didn't work or why they used to work and don't anymore. The treatment that's most effective today is not what was most effective, 30, 40 years ago. So as new information becomes available, certainly we'll look into it and look to apply it. We've been involved in some research, but more importantly is reviewing all the research that's available and finding application for it and better ways to help people.
There's a lot of talk in regards to the medicated-assisted treatment and, dealing with that aspect of the recovery approach. And do you find that with stabilizing people that might have issues with chronic relapse, that's been a big help in the industry, or do you think that is a hindrance?
It's all a case by case, but certainly there are people who need those kind of approaches that had been left without them before. Obviously, that was problematic for them. So being able to do more to help them, I think, is a benefit. The only hindrance is when someone else believes that what worked for one person is going to also be the thing that works for them as well. And I think that's really the problem, not only from the client's end, from the receiver of treatment, but also from the provider. We have a lot of providers who don't look at it on a real individualized basis, and not necessarily because they are lazy. It's just a lack of understanding. It's vastly immense amount of information becoming available, and people's access to it it's sometimes difficult to get good research. There's a lot of information out there that's not full information, so people read about possible approaches, and certain things are pushed by pharmaceutical companies and other purposes, people who have money reasons behind it, that maybe you don't get the whole story. So being able to dig a little deeper and understand the whole long-term effects of things, I think, is pretty important.
Yeah, drilling down into it. Now, we have a huge, epidemic, and everybody knows it across the United States. If they don't, they've been living under a rock. 174 people dying each day. What do you feel that needs to happen for, that to become under control, but most importantly, to be able to help people that are dying? I mean, what do we need to do?
Well, first, the get it under control part. There's moves, and there's always going to be a little whiplash from anything we do. So as we move quickly, and we've moved slowly and then quickly to curb the number of prescriptions being given in the first place, since we're finding a large number of people addicted to opioids started on prescriptions that were prescribed in an abusive or unsafe manner. So there's a lot of work to do that. Of course, getting caught in that net are some people who might have legitimate needs and then have to go to visit their doctor more frequently than they understand. And so because they may not have an issue and they may not have a propensity toward the addiction, but they still have to follow extra tight regimens in order to get their medication. So it's a bit of a push and shove here. But so what I think we see happening now is, first of all, genetic testing so that we know who is more predisposed. So Dr. Kenneth Blum has come out with something called the GARS, Genetic Addiction Risk Score, that allows us to understand someone's particular likelihood to become addicted to a particular substance, and then can prescribe a particular approach for that individual. That's everything from the amino acid therapies, which he pioneered years ago, and is now starting to catch on to other forms of non-invasive and non-addictive helps. So we do have a big push now for medication-assisted therapy. Unfortunately, it seems to be fairly single-minded. There seems to be a tendency to believe that there's one way to do medication-assisted therapy, and unfortunately that's problematic. Long-term use of some of the favored options has some significant negative side effects. There are other options. We're working with a guy now who's developed a compounding formula of naltrexone to be able to do 12-month implants. It gives someone an opportunity to, as they're leaving or preparing to leave a treatment environment, be put on a blocker that will make it so they can't overdose for a solid 12 months. That gives them a chance to continue with therapies, which is an important part of medication-assisted treatment, while they learn a new way to live and still are safe physically, and they can't get high. I mean, if they shoot a bag of dope, nothing happens. They don't get high. They don't overdose. They just waste their time and money, and they hopefully learn a lesson if they even try. So there's all kinds of innovations out there. There's a lot of holistic approaches and learning how to change the way we address our neurochemistry and our entire body system. We've got good use of hemp oils, and there's a lot of confusion between that and medical marijuana. They are very different, and so people get confused there. There's use of amino acid therapies to help balance people's neurotransmitters. We're looking in now to a vagus nerve stimulation, a way to deal with some anxiety and some other issues and even opioid cravings, do a non-invasive vagus nerve stimulator. There's transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS units, which show to have some efficacy on insomnia and anxiety and depression, and all those are correlated. And so when we begin to find healthy ways to address some of the things that led people to use in the first place, whether it was that genetic deficiency in dopamine, whether it was high anxiety or severe depression, or whatever it may have been, if we find ways to solve that original root issue, and it's not always that easy, there's trauma issues and other things involved, but when possible, when there's a biological root that we can solve, let's solve it. Let's get them to a healthy person. You'll often find that a healthy person makes healthy decisions.
Good stuff. The last time we were on the air, we were talking about some of this, and we were going to talk about music as a therapy too, and an alternative approach. Mm-hmm. And I do want to touch base on that tonight. Rockers in Recovery and carrying the message through music and putting folks out there that are, newcomers, and some are old timers, and they're playing their music, and they're, doing it to be able to enhance their recovery, but to help other people to be able to enjoy their recovery too. Do you feel that music as a medium, or a modality is something that is a benefit to clients that are coming through your program?
Well, certainly. We have data to back it up. We use music therapy in our environment because we know it works. Again, I'm not going to apply something just because it's fun, although fun is actually proven to be good for us as well. But they've used music therapy, and there's a research showing that it helps people, adolescents, adults with a variety of mental health issues, including addiction, learning disabilities, Alzheimer's. There's all kinds of uses for it. We use a form of music therapy in combination with our neurofeedback system. So people will listen to music that has also these both auditory and subliminal clicks that help provide what we call operant brain conditioning. It retrains your brain, and that helps with ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, insomnia, a variety of other things that, again, are commonly comorbid with addiction. So hitting those root causes, and music therapy can very much be a part of that.
Yeah, I feel it. I've seen it over the years where we've done stuff at different, treatment programs and detox centers, and it definitely brings up an emotional level, especially some music that might bring up those emotions from their past. Music from their past that reminds them of something or opens them up to something. Do you see that happening?
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Music has been used. You can look in biblical times. When King David played the harp, Saul was soothed. It's there from before we can ever remember. And so, music. You talk to anybody. There's certain songs evoke certain emotions. It's used in the movie industry. When they want you to feel tension, they play certain types of music, so you know that this is a tense scene. When they want you to feel relaxed, there's another kind of music for that. When they want you to feel your heartstrings being plugged, there's music for that. Music very directly affects us emotionally. And particularly for, some of us, there's a song that may invoke a certain memory, and that could be good or bad, but it's not even necessarily the memory. It's actually the tones. There's binaural beat therapies. You'll find most biosound and neurofeedback employ music because it affects the mind, and you can do it in a very positive way.
It's great stuff, great information. If you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Lyle from The Shores, and of course you can check out The Shores, recovery.com, and you can also call Lyle if you would like to ask him questions at 888-249-2590. Also, we, of course, highlight Lyle at least once a month, and we will have this show going through the February, of course, posts and all of that, and you can turn on your friends to the show and have people listen and check it out. Lyle, you did say something that I did want to touch on. It was kind of interesting, hemp oil. What is that all about?
Hemp oil, it's a full spectrum hemp oil contains hundreds of cannabinoids, and that affects our endocannabinoid system. And again, I want to make it real clear, there's a lot of confusion between hemp oil and other CBDs or marijuana oil. Marijuana contains THC. It comes from a different plant. The cannabis family has two basic branches. It has the sativa branch, which is marijuana. That's the stuff that gets you high and has the THC. THC is tetrahydrocannabinol, so it's one of the many cannabinols. And then you have the hemp plant, which is the other branch, and in its normal natural form, it has about a 0.03% THC, which when properly processed into a form that's best for the body, the THC is removed. Most of the benefits you see from medical marijuana studies are actually from the other cannabinols. They're not from the THC. So the interesting thing is that the hemp plant tends to have a higher concentration of those healthy cannabinols than the marijuana plant. So you actually get greater medical benefit from hemp. It
has the bad name because of the association, the cousin of, so to speak. the marijuana.
Sure, exactly.
Because
So,
it's the THC.
and particularly in the recovery community, I mean, I've had a lot of people say, you can't do that. They're in recovery. There's zero psychotropic effect if there is zero THC. So and it won't show up on a drug test as THC because it contains none. So it's safe for people in recovery. It's legal in all 50 states because, again, it has no THC. THC is the problem. Marijuana is the problem in the various states and their laws. There is no state that has outlawed hemp oil because it contains no THC. And so a lot of people, again, I've had someone call me and say, my sponsor won't let me do this because they say it's relapse. Well, it's a very bizarre definition of relapse. I mean, if you take your daily vitamins, you're getting, because there's terpenes and vitamins and omegas and all kinds of things in hemp oil. And so if you're taking an omega, is that a relapse? I can't imagine anyone saying it is, if you take the vitamins and the terpenes. So what the problem is their lack of understanding of what cannabinoids are. And it's understandable. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know.
So going forward, I mean, as a therapy, where do you see that falling into place as far as a therapy to help people?
Well, it's being used in several environments. I know Dr. Derek Da Silva uses it in a facility that he is affiliated with, and we've begun using it. There's several others that are using it, and it's great. And here's the interesting thing. It is natural, and it's healthy, and it does so many things. You have to understand your endocannabinoid system runs through your body. It's certainly a part of your neuro process, but it's also throughout the rest of your body. So if it's healthy, if that endocannabinoid system is healthy, a good portion of the rest of you is going to be healthy as well. And that's why it kind of looks like snake oil, because it claims to, the studies show it supported helping so many things, because it contains, again, not just the cannabinoids, but also the terpenes, the vitamins, the omega fats, and all kinds of good stuff. So, but there's some great studies out there, and I can give people links to reviews of literature on it and different National Institute of Health and peer-reviewed journals that talk about it, effects of cannabinoids on anxiety, effects of cannabinoids to treat pain. There's got it for PTSD, anxiety, depression, Crohn's, and other intestinal IBS issues, insomnia, ADD, ADHD, neuropathy. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, the sleep aspect of it alone. I mean, when hey, listen, I still suffer with sleep problems, and I've kind of gotten to the point in my life with several years of dealing with it that you just get to the point where you're like, well, okay, this is something I'm gonna have to deal with for the rest of my life. So it does, and from everything that I've been reading too, it does specifically say it can help you with that.
Yeah, in the U.S., we've got about 70 million people who are believed to be suffering from insomnia, insufficient sleep, or some other sleep disorder. And the mistake that people make is they believe that CBD is a sedative. Well, in modest doses, it's actually mind alerting. It gives you better focus. So it's not a sedative at all. What happens is that they activate some of the same adenosine receptors as caffeine, which is a stimulant. But when people take this, particularly if they take it, not right at bed, they tend to also have a more relaxed state. So while you may be mentally alert, you are physically relaxed. And so some people will find, you understand again, when you've got a full spectrum CBD oil, that's hundreds, 113, possibly more cannabinoids at work at once. And so your body sort of has these on-off switches. So when it has one that needs to be turned on and the right thing comes by and turns it on, it gets turned on. If the right thing doesn't come by. So if you have a need for increased sleep, it can sort of turn on that switch, so to speak. If you don't, then you won't have a sedative or sleepiness effect from it. So you can safely take it and drive and go about your day and actually feel very mentally alert, again, for that activation of the adenosine. So there's, which again hits the same receptor as caffeine, but it's actually healthier than caffeine. So
good stuff, man.
It's been shown to help balance people for sleep.
It's definitely so much out there that if people start looking at the different therapies and start looking at the different things that we're talking about this evening, one of the things that I would do is invite people to go to the shoresrecovery.com and also call Lyle at 888-249-2590 for more information. Again, this is about, treating the whole body in an individual. And I think that, the cookie-cutter approach of, 20 years ago or 30 years ago or even 10 years ago, they've been really shown a lot that it has to be an individualized treatment for people that are suffering from addiction. Would you agree?
Absolutely. If we don't look at them as an individual and their individual needs, for instance, the neurofeedback, if they have ADD or ADHD, it's an excellent treatment for that. If you don't have any of the symptoms that it treats, why would you go through that? It would be unethical, in my eyes, to provide a treatment that has no benefit to that individual. In the same sense, it's really unethical to not give them what is going to best benefit them. And you don't know that if you don't know the individual. And that's why people will call me up and say, will this be good for me? I say, I have no way of telling you that. I can tell you that this is the things it's used for. If you have those things, this may work for you. But it really takes a good bit of assessment and some time getting to know someone to know exactly what is best for them. But again, there's a lot of things out on the table that just aren't being used that really need to be.
Great information. Again, if you're tuning in, we're talking to Lyle Freed from The Shores, and you can check out the shoresrecovery.com and also call Lyle at 888-249-2590. Again, if you're, suffering or you have a loved one that's suffering with addiction issues, give Lyle a call. There is a way out. If, Lyle can't help you, he can find somebody that can. That's the good news about Lyle and the Shores and different people that we work with. It isn't about just, hey, listen, give the Shores a call and, they can help. If they can't, they will refer you to somebody that can, correct?
Absolutely.
So, folks, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Most importantly, I want to thank Lyle for being on the phone. We look forward to having you back on with us in March and talking some great issues like we do. And, of course, the world of treatment. And in closing, I want to thank the Shores Treatment and Recovery for the support that they give rockers in recovery for us to be able to carry the message of hope the way that we do every day on our platforms. It's through those guys and folks like them that we get to carry that message, and they are a yearly partner, and we appreciate your sponsorship and your partnership with Rockers in Recovery.
Thank you very much.
Batman, we'll talk soon, Lyle. Thank you.
Sounds good. Talk to you then.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, check out tomorrow night. If you like what you hear tonight, come on back tomorrow night. We got a great show in store for everybody. Always do. God bless. We'll talk soon.
Rockers in Recovery Radio is based on opinion only and is not meant to treat or diagnose any health or mental health issue of any kind. If you feel you need help for any health-related issues, please contact a physician or mental health professional. The opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of Rockers in Recovery.
Why would I break your heart? you asking me 'cause you knew the answer from the start, darling. You see, I gotta change my ways. That's what you want from me.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.